All right, back again, making this weird pirate game because CoPilot told me we're making a game about pirates and pirates. Where was that? I don't remember. The game is about pirates and pirates. So that's what we're doing. I'm working on a logical object. I don't know what we want to call this. It's a controller. I'm calling it a controller. It's going to be the class that's responsible for moving the player around and also shifting the player's focus around, which is where the camera in the game is going to try and track. And I want this controller to be separate from the player itself for a couple of reasons. First reason is I want data and things that modify data to be separate. I don't want my data classes to be, loaded with tons of functions. Separation of concerns. These are going to be plain objects that are meant to be stored in the database for saving the game. I'm probably going to use SQLite. Just because I did that for one other game and loved it and was like, why have I not been doing this all along? So anyway, I'll probably try SQLite again. And the other reason is by keeping the separation, we can do some cool things like have the player control something else, which is what we're working on. The game has insisted, CoPilot has insisted that we learn about the captain only when we find them. But the captain is the main character, so I was confused by this and finally realized, and again, I'm sure, CoPilot isn't a thinking thing, although it behaves awfully like one sometimes. It's interesting how you can have conversations with it. I guess how I decided to interpret the nonsense, in some senses, that CoPilot was issuing from its bizarre digital mouth. I don't know how that sentence came to be. I decided to interpret it as you will start the game as one of the little creatures on the island that is under threat from a terrible, terrible threat. And you will find the captain very quickly and then learn their name and all the things that the CoPilot said that we would learn. Sorry, no, it wasn't CoPilot. I've actually been doing the conversations with GPT-2 via Write with Transformer. I've been using that to generate the dialogue because CoPilot isn't trained on English. It's trained on code. And you can talk with it, you can try, but its grasp of English is much reduced. It gets caught in loops way more often. I tried in comments doing this. And that makes sense. It's seen a lot less English, just what's in comments. It has seen a lot of code. Whereas, general GPT-2 is the reverse. It's seen a lot of English, but relatively little code. So it's very good at English. Is it good at other languages? Let's not think about that right now. Okay, so I want this player controller to attach to a creature and take inputs. Right now I have all the inputs being handled just by this running around state, which I know I don't want to keep. So we're going to fix that. So let me make the player controller, instantiate it here. And once again, I've typed not in the way that Writer would like me to. So let's make player controller equals new player controller following the world. It renamed the player to creature. It gave me that option when I renamed, and I failed to rename that to player. All right, we want a reference to the player to be handy. Running around, sorry. I always close files expecting, I just need to learn that's not how it works. Okay, so player controller equals the player, and what we want to follow is not the player itself, but the player, we want to follow the player controller. It has this focus object that's going to get moved around because the way the game is working right now when the camera follows is that, when you move far to the left, then the camera starts following you, but that means there's very little screen on the left to see. What I really want is that when you turn to face left, the camera swings and shows you mostly what's to the left, and when you turn to face right, it swings to show you mostly what's to the right. Yeah, to a degree. And again, the camera that's going to swing the focus, but the camera is going to have some room on the focus still, so it won't necessarily move if, where the focus is shifted, whatever. It'll all work out, I think, so the camera won't be flying all over the place. That's the main thing. So where we have active input, instead, we want to call the player controller. So player controller, enemies, I kind of want the player controller I guess it doesn't matter. Well, let's just say get input. I don't think I need game time. Okay, public void. So what I was thinking was like, do I want an interface that's like, these are creature controllers. The player controller is one of them, but there's also, you know, goblin controller if there's going to be goblins. I don't think there will be, because this game seems to be about ghost spirits and things, or sorry, pirate spirits. Ooh, you need to know a keyboard, do you? You need to know what your input device is. Usually I like to abstract out input devices so that whether you're playing with a gamepad or a keyboard, we support either one. I'll do that later. So I'm going to have, that's interesting. I guess they could both be public. I don't know, does it need to be? I don't know. Okay, we're going to have a keyboard, the whole keyboard manager. It's a little silly, but later I will make it so that it takes an input device. It's this abstracted object that doesn't know about keys and buttons. You know, it's an interface that just says, are they moving left? Are they, you know, is the intent of that input device that the character moves left, right? We'll kind of map the conceptual controls to then physical buttons under the hood, depending on what the exact input device is. But I'll do that later, because we can do that thing later. So we will say keyboard, oops, no, keyboard, yep, and then yes, and then you would set the creature X velocity. So that's ideal, because then when we come down, what do you want for real? Oh, you need the keyboard. I closed again, it didn't work, because it never does. Keyboard, okay, I always do control, let's control W that I've mapped to be closed tab. And I keep trying to, again, close tabs, expecting to go back. I should stop saying this, or I'm gonna say this every video, and you guys are gonna become irritated. Okay, passing the keyboard, and then the cool thing is that this is not how we want to, we don't want to move the player specifically. The player controller has given the player creature some physics. It said, here's your X velocity, but it's not up to the player controller to actually perform that motion, I don't think, unless they're all going to have different physics. Do they have different physics? I think they must, because like players will be doing like wall slides and things. So maybe the player controller is responsible for the physics of the player. It just doesn't quite feel right. I feel like it should be split up off somewhere else, but we'll do that refactor when it makes sense, because right now I'm having trouble thinking about it, but once I'm faced with it, with the problem, I'm sure I'll figure it out. So let's just do player controller, and let's do, I guess we'll call it update, and we'll pass a game time. So player controller, let's do an update function. Again, this doesn't feel right to me, but I don't know what the better thing is yet, so I'll worry about it when I get there. So we're no longer referring to the world state. We know what creature we're controlling, because we might control all kinds of creatures, like in the beginning. Well, yeah, and see, that's an interesting case, is when you play as, if you control something else with the player, you know, the pirate captain will have different abilities from the little person, the tiny island person. So you shouldn't have wall slides and stuff, and so this controller shouldn't make those things happen. So I think it is. That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going to put that logic. Again, I'll think about that. I'll think about that later, but it definitely doesn't belong in here. It belongs somewhere else. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, that's fascinating. Or maybe it belongs in the player controller, but how we get the inputs belongs somewhere else. Something like that. Again, I'll have to figure it out later. Okay, so the other thing I want to do, though, let's go back to the player controller, is if you're pressing left or right, then I want to move the focus. So the focus X is going to go to the creature X plus the creature X, width divided by 2. Okay, but minus something. Let's say 400 or something. And you want floats or something. Okay, and then here you would go to 400. So if you're pressing left, we swing your focus left 400 pixels. Otherwise, now we swing it right when you're going right, and then the camera is tracking your focus, and it has some sort of padding thing going on, which maybe now we'll tweak to be a little tighter. But let's see what it looks like. Let me drag this on screen. So, oh, and it goes there like instantly, which is suboptimal, but it is doing it right. So I'm pressing left and it goes left, I'm pressing right and it goes to the right. We don't want it to be instant, and I do want some wiggle room. Let me make the camera, I wish I could, I need some like visualization of where the camera is going. But let me just try first. So this will give the middle, what is that, like 2/3? I feel like I want to see the focus point on screen right now, because I'm not sure where the focus point is. I don't like, is 400 pixels like way less than I'm thinking? So let me get that drawn on screen. So I'm going to cheat and do that on the running around. I'm just going to draw it. So we're going to graphics, draw point, X, Y, and color. So I want it to be the player controller focus X minus the camera X, and then the player controller focus Y minus the camera Y, and then color, let's just do red. And it doesn't like this, yeah, because it's all floats. All this is floats, so let's cast everything to int. I did not mean for that to be a capital I. How did you even do that? And then over here, int, and int. All right, let's see where that thing is. It's going to be a single little tiny dot, and it's going to open on the wrong monitor, because it always does. Well, I'm not seeing it. Why am I not seeing it? Active draw. I think that, where's that draw? Where's the always draw or something? After the world renders? I think, I don't remember the order that always draw active draw is in. I'm worried that one thing is overwriting the other, but it's black space, so. Yeah, where are you? Ooh. Wait, is it in the grass? Let me see. Focus X minus camera X. That's the way to do it, right? The camera is the middle of the screen. Do I need to add the graphics width divided by 2 because it's the middle? Is that why? Let me see. Graphics height, and I feel like it doesn't need to be a float, but whatever. I see why it's complaining. Like, I don't mind that we're losing the float there. Okay, there we go. Okay, I see the tiny, guys, it's so small. I probably need to make it bigger. And I feel like I would like it to focus on that more, but I'd also like the camera to, like, how do I want this? Like, if you're in the middle, I mean, maybe this is good enough. Maybe, I'm trying to think of where I want buffer is not quite the right word, but like as I move left, the red dot is like as far left as the camera is willing to go. I feel like the camera should center itself on that a little more, which would mean tightening up that the middle, adding a larger buffer to the edge. Or do I want to move the red dot further out? But I feel like, because I guess the problem I'm thinking is if you turn around and you've barely moved at all, maybe we don't need the camera to instantly zip over there. What that suggests to me is that maybe the focus doesn't instantly move, but it moves, like if you press left, it moves to the left rapidly and keeps going until some maximum. And it's like, okay, that's as far left as I want to go. And then do we let the camera... I think we still want some wiggle room on the camera because not everything in the game is going to have this focus point. So like if we were tracking just a little critter, this is probably a good amount of space. Actually, I might even want to add a little more so that if a critter was moving, like suppose a critter was moving to the left and the critter was where that red dot is. That's fine. We don't need to see ahead of the critter. But maybe we want to see ahead a little more. So let me put it back to, I don't know if this is making any sense what I'm saying. So I'm going to put this back to, do I do a half? I had a quarter before. Let me try a half and see what that looks like. I think I want the red dot to be a little further from the edge of the screen. Okay, yeah, that was the wrong way to do it. And that makes sense in retrospect. Yeah, I want a quarter edge, which means half the screen in the middle. Whatever, don't worry about it. Okay, so yeah, we get this horrible snap. But I think, so okay, I want the red dot now to move even further to the left. And again, we're gonna let you change also the size of the window later on. But let's, does that mean we want to show you more behind or more ahead? You know, I don't know. I really wish I could convince it to open on the same screen. Okay, so like this sort of ratio looks good. This looks good to me. I'm moving to the left. I see this much behind me and this much in front of me. That makes sense. Turn around. Now again, that turnaround is too quick. We don't want it to go that instant, but I think that I will solve by making this focus point move more slowly. And also, I worry that you guys can't even see that focus point on the YouTube video. I should have just done this a long time ago. Where's the running around? Let me draw a filled rectangle. Say focus x equals focus y equals, that was probably correct, but so the rectangle would be from focus x minus 1 to focus y minus 1, and then 3, 3, and color red. And then probably I'm just going to call this a video because, again, I'm getting to like 18, 20 minutes. And all right, there's the focus rectangle, right? It's really big, or focus square. Hopefully you can see that better now. But I want it to sweep across more nicely. Gosh, so much time on camera controls, but the camera's got to be good, so it's justified. All right, I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'll make this thing sweep a little more nicely, and hopefully get you controlling a little creature instead next time. All right, until then, goodbye.